Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the August 21st, 2019 meeting of the Arcata City Council. Please join me in the flag salute. May we please have a roll call? Here.
Vice Mayor Winkler.
Here.
Councilmember Patino.
Here.
Councilmember Ornelas.
Here.
Councilmember Pereira.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. So we will not be doing ceremonial matters this evening, and we will move on to report by Commission Committee. Annual report from the Transportation Safety Committee. Do we have a presenter?
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Morgan King. I'm the current chair of the Transportation and Safety Committee. And first, I'd like to note that this is the 20th anniversary of the Transportation Safety Committee. You're welcome to throw us a party if you like. But this, this committee was established in 1999 by the council. So, celebrating our 20th year. And in this past year, the committee held 11 regular meetings. We also participated in the annual joint study session with the council and the Energy Committee to discuss cross-cutting initiatives and projects that can lead to safer streets while curbing greenhouse gas emissions. And so today I'd just like to summarize the annual report that you received already and give you some ideas of what we're looking for in the coming year. This year we saw our key tasks as follows. Each regular meeting we received and responded to public and written and oral communication. We supported community outreach and activities promoting safe transportation. We reviewed traffic accident data and trends, weighed in on current and planned city projects, reviewed transit reports, assisted with development of policies and updates, supported local transportation safety-related groups and activities, and provided a forum for discussion of specific transportation safety and parking concerns. And within each of these tasks, the committee listened to public input, deliberated, and when appropriate, we made recommendations to the city staff and other organizations. And I'd like to highlight some of our work over the past year within those tasks. Committee members and staff completed an application with the League of American Bicyclists to renew its bicycle-friendly community status, earning the city a silver designation. We participated in the 12th annual Kids Bike Rodeo this past May, an annual event to promote bicycle skills and safety. We helped design transportation safety posters for display on city buses. We reviewed and discussed Amherst Transit ridership proposals for on-demand services and strategies to increase ridership. We listened to public comments, discussed and made recommendations for traffic calming, speed reduction, pedestrian improvements, and other measures for locations such as Little Fickle Hill Road, 17th and Alliance Road, and Blakesley Avenue and S Street. We participated on the Annie and Mary Trail Task Force, attended events, and made recommendations for trail elements. And we participated on the Plaza Improvement Task Force, reviewed survey results and reports, and developed motion-approved recommendations for the task force and the city to consider. The committee has a number of goals for this coming year. Let me highlight just a few of them here. We look forward to discussing and making recommendations on traffic calming projects and priorities, as well as issues related to bike and pedestrian facilities improvements. We will continue to support community outreach events, activities, and PSAs to encourage and promote transportation safety. We will review and support planning efforts related to the Annie and Mary Trail Connectivity Project, the Active Transportation Program grant application, and other transportation-related projects. And we will continue to provide a forum for those that live and work in Arcata to express concerns or issues regarding safety and transportation in the city. In closing, I'd like to thank our staff liaisons, all of whom have put a lot of time and energy into this committee. Debbie Klass, Netra Khatri, and Melanie DeBill from the Building and Engineering Department, and Lieutenant Todd Dockweiler from the Arcata Police Department. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I had a question. You know, you're talking about green paint and designated bike lanes. You got any idea which ones you want to start on?
We haven't discussed it yet as a committee, but that is within our broader set of goals for the year, so it will come up, but
Good.
yeah, at this point, we haven't discussed it yet. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. One area that I'm concerned about, and it's been an increasing area in other parts of the state, is having to do with small electric vehicles, electric bicycles, little electric scooters and things like that. So that's an area that I would be interested in seeing the committee get more involved in, because I think it can become a significant issue as far as traffic safety.
Absolutely. I agree, and that is going to be an agenda item sometime in the coming year. I recently read an interesting article, maybe you saw it, about the environmental footprint of dockless e-scooters, and that when you really look at its life cycle and how other vehicles have to drive to pick them up, get the batteries charged, transport them elsewhere, the environmental footprint is actually a lot larger than most other forms of transit. So I think there's a broad set of issues around these various on-demand systems that we'll probably be looking at.
Well, yeah, I just, probably staff is aware of this, but I recently got just a notification about the California Natural Resources Agency has a new grant program out in recreational trails, and so I just wanted to bring it forward with Annie Mary, which I'm sure you were aware of anyway. But
Okay.
so yeah, and thank you for the
Yeah.
important work that you guys are doing.
All right. Thank you.
I noticed on your list, just talked about Blakesley and S Street and working on traffic calming there. So I just wanted to, let you know I support that. That's an area that specifically I've received several complaints from people that didn't even know each other in the neighborhood. And I know that that might be one of the intersections with no stop signs at all on it. So, even if it was an all-way yield or whatever we could do there, I think that'd be great. And I go up and down the Foster between, the new section of Foster, I guess, by the new apartments. And I feel like those crosswalks there, when people are, kind of queuing up to check for traffic, that they're not very visible for drivers. A lot of times where the person is standing, maybe there's like a phone pole there or a power pole or something. So, maybe that's something to look at in the future too.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to early oral communications. This 15-minute time period is provided for people to address the council on matters not on the agenda. At the conclusion of all oral communications, the council may respond to statements. Any request that requires council action will be set by the council for a future agenda or referred to staff. Speakers addressing the council at this time may be limited to 2 minutes. All other oral and written communications will be heard at this meeting under agenda item 11. Can I just get a rough idea by a show of hands how many people would like to make comment at this time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Oh yeah, that's okay. So just to make sure we have time for everybody within the 15-minute time period, we will be doing 2-minute comments. So please come on up.
Okay, members of the council, thank you for doing everything you do. I'll ask you to do one more thing. My name is John Schaefer. I live in Arcata. And you'll certainly be aware that we are not doing enough about the climate crisis. My belief is the only way to turn it around is to put a real price on carbon. And there is legislation introduced in the House, H.R. 763, that places a rising price on carbon emissions and then returns all those funds to residents of the United States, so it's not really a tax. It's not a tax at all. So most families would come out ahead on this kind of arrangement. The bill, H.R. 763, has about 60 co-sponsors, bipartisan. This is in the House. It's not yet introduced in the Senate. And my purpose here this evening is to ask you to pass a resolution in support of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Bill, H.R. 763, and send this resolution off, of course, to Representative Huffman, and more important, to our senators, where this has not yet been introduced. I'll close with just a comment. My granddaughter, when she was 8, expressed a fear that by the time her grandchildren grow up, it'll be too hot to be alive. Let's see if we can't allay that fear on her part.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Madam Clerk, City Manager, ladies and gentlemen of the City of Arcata. My name is Vernon Price. Yeah, I do apologize for giving you late. I was wanting to get this to you yesterday, but I hope you received it via email. I am the founder and runner and president of Loads of Love Initiative. What Loads of Love is an initiative in partnership with individuals, groups, and the Arcata Speed Wash Laundromat. The Loads of Love initiative helps to wash the clothes and bedding of individuals and or families living in poverty. Loads of Love seeks to nurture the well-being of each person through intentional networking and friendship. We are now moving from McKinleyville here to Arcata. At 1080 F Street, we will be operating from the first and second Thursday of each month from 12 until 2. You'll find 2 other pages stapled to the flyer. These are handwritten small briefs of, we can't change the world with this, but we can change the world in the lives of those that needs this service. This is initially set forth for helping those that are unhoused and living on the street here in our beloved city. I myself have been formerly chronically homeless for 15 years. I've now been a resident of Arcata in a wonderful apartment complex here for the last 14 months. What I'm wanting to do is to small, meaningful contributions back into the community that we receive services from, improving the quality of life, building a stronger community and a more vibrant county that we live. Thank you so much for your time, your concern, and your consideration on this matter. Please have a good evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Carpani Burns. I'm here representing the Justice for Josiah Committee. I basically have questions, but first I would like to recognize that we're standing on stolen Wiyot land, and I appreciate their gratefulness to us, not their gratefulness, but their graciousness to us in allowing that. So the questions that I have are concerning the Police Foundation report. I think the last thing I heard from Karen Deemer was that we were going to have some notice of that towards the end of May into June. I haven't heard anything since then. So the question is, where is it? When will we hear something? My second question is also about that. I understand that it's costing for that report somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000. And my question is that taxpayer money? And has it been paid? And if not, when will it be paid? And is there some connection to paid or not paid, see it, don't see it, or hear anything? Is that connected somehow? I'm a little confused. I'm not very trusting, considering the 2 years history that we have together on this Justice for Josiah. I would like to take the last 30 seconds, 26, 5, for a moment of silence for justice for Josiah.
Thank you very much.
Hello. I'm here tonight to ask you to consider requesting the County Board of Supervisors to revise their shooting ordinance, recently passed a year ago, number 2605, such that the safe shooting distances and practices will protect the health and safety of those in public places, homes, work areas, and places of worship. The ordinance was written by the sheriff and the NRA. It sanctions, and I quote, shooting on, into, and over any public place, quote, where public place is defined as any area open to common or general use, participation, or enjoyment, including but not limited to such areas as beaches, parks, parking areas, roadways, trails, river bars, and other areas which are open and accessible to the public, end quote. And where shooting is not within 1/2 mile of a state or federal highway, and there's a 20-foot high dirt pile, sand dune, or road or river bank somewhere behind the target. The ordinance appears to be in violation of or in contradiction to state laws and statutes, including our own county ordinance prohibiting shooting in a county park. It appears to violate state law prohibiting discharge of firearms on public roads, which our county roads would be a public road. The California Coastal Act prohibits interference with public's right of maximum access for recreation. Other state laws forbid actions that would take place with this shooting. I think the city of Arcata would benefit by looking into this. The citizens of Arcata deserve public places as well as their own homes to be protected. And I think that's where a revision of this ordinance would help that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bethany Shea. I'm a local pastor here in Arcata, and I'm here on behalf of Charmaine Lawson with the Justice for Josiah campaign. She had a few questions that Carpani mentioned, and I wanted to say a couple of them. One of them was that she has returned some phone calls, or she has made some phone calls to the Police Foundation, and she hasn't received many or any returned phone calls from that. And she is curious when they will be calling her back so she can get that information from them. I wanted to acknowledge the signs out on the front door for the Justice for Josiah campaign. I really appreciate those being there. And as you can see, they are still around the community. We want to make sure that those don't get forgotten about. New students learning who Josiah was and that the city still hasn't discovered what has happened fully in that. And so one of the questions that we had was that we would love to see more city council members at the vigils that we do monthly. Every 15th of the month, we have a vigil for Josiah's life, his death, and what it means to our community. And as representatives of this community, we would love to see maybe a rotation of the council members there, 1 or 2 each time, just so that way you can see what is happening in the community, and you can get a fuller perspective of those who are showing up month after month to see a murder get off the streets of our town. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name's Joanne McGarry, and I just wanted to remind the council that we are in a crisis and we need to start acting like we're in a crisis in regards to the climate and what's happening. I walked around a lot in the last few days, and the heat was pretty remarkable for this area. And I also attended the Coastal Commission and heard Alderon Laird's talk about sea level rise and the urgency of our needing to take action in regards to that. But I also wanted to remind the council that on September 20th, Greta Thunberg and the School Strike for the Climate, along with 350.org and a lot of other international and national organizations, are organizing a global strike for the climate on September 20th, the day before the United Nations Climate Summit, in which Greta Thunberg will hopefully be there to speak to, and then on September 27th as well. And there's a week of action in between. And I also want to alert the council and other members of the city here that I have invited Greta to come to the Redwoods. I think from the New York Island to the Redwood Forest would be a wonderful trip by train across our country on her way to Chile in December. But I do believe that she is spot on in letting us know that those in power and those who have the most power need to take the most action in regards to what's going on in our world in regards to climate change, including here in Humboldt County and Arcata, California. So I would like for you to once again consider declaring a climate emergency and taking some action to see what we can do to thwart the threat, the existential threat that it represents for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, should I start? My name is Lisa Pelletier, and I'm a member of the Justice for Josiah Committee. We as a community have been asking for 2 years, over 2 years, for a report on the emergency response in this community. And this affects our safety. And I was told, I met with Mayor Brett Watson last year, I believe it was, and I was told that Tom Parker was looking into this situation. Well then, and that the report was going to come out, and then Councilmember Ornelas told us that this report was going to come out. And we've been misled, we have been led on, and you know, every time we want to find out what's going on or what has happened, and this affects our safety as a community, you tell us that report is not available. So what's going on here? I don't understand. Do you care about the safety of people in this community? Do you care about the safety of students? I had Chief Chapman look us in the eye. Several women at a community meeting were surrounding him, and he looked us in the eye and he said, that report will never see the light of day. He was talking about Tom Parker's report. And now we're hearing that the Police Foundation report apparently will never see the light of day because you're constantly in an investigation, a so-called investigation. This case is essentially cold. I mean, what do you have to go on? You don't have witnesses. You messed up, you bungled the evidence so that even a grand jury couldn't see its way to convict, try the suspect, the main suspect.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
When are we going to get some answers? This community deserves answers.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who would like to make comment this evening?
Hi, I'm Molly Conso. I'm an Arcata resident and a graduate student in Humboldt State. I was a student when Josiah was murdered, and I would like to know where the Police Foundation's report is. As a student, I don't feel safe here. I have to see his killers in public. I've seen his killers at Szechuan Garden. I've seen his killers out and about having a good time. And as a student who's not from the area, it's extremely unsettling to know what happened and to know that it seems this council and the police department are going to continue to sweep it under the rug. The students deserve to know what really happened. And when I have to come face to face with people who murdered a student in my daily life and nothing's been done, I just want you guys to think about that. So please release whatever reports you have so that students can be informed on what happened and who we're dealing with in your public. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment at this time on anything that's not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will bring it back to the council. Do you have any comments from the council?
Yeah, I had one on the, that shooting ordinance. I'd like to look into that. I got involved in it a couple of years ago, and I was unaware of this ordinance that that gentleman just brought up. So I'd like to be able to review that, you know, whatever he's talking about there, and look at what we have, what our city ordinance is, what the county ordinance is, and what's changed from 2 years ago. So that's one. And then the idea of having the Police Foundation report is something maybe we have an update on timing.
Yeah, to answer the questions on the Police Foundation report, the city has not received a copy of the Police Foundation report at this time. We do get fairly regular, quick updates just saying it is still in committee review, or it's been moved, you know, to this level of review within their own organization. But to date, you know, I don't have a solid date. I've put out a lot of dates, so I'd like to stop putting out dates that are missed at this point by the foundation. To answer the questions in regards to payment, they are under contract to deliver, and I absolutely believe that they will deliver that report. What we have said publicly for quite a long period of time is that once the city reviews that report, we are still in a very open investigation and an ongoing investigation. I would not classify this case in any way, shape, as a cold case. So as an ongoing investigation, if there is private investigative material in that report, at least those sections will not be released. But it has been the intention of this council to release everything that's possible that doesn't jeopardize the investigation of the case to the public for review. I've read a number of the Police Foundation's reports. Their entire job is to not be critical, but to be analytical. And it often, you know, then appears as critical, but it really is to look at policing in America and how do we improve our processes. This is probably one of the smallest departments that they've done a report on in a very rural area. And I think we are hopeful that there will be some advice in this that will translate even beyond Arcata in terms of best practices. But that being said, we don't have a copy of the report. We haven't been withholding any payment. The city does pay its bills, but until they deliver that report, they just have simply not invoiced us for that contract. But they are under contract, and I'm sure that it will be delivered. I would also just like to update quickly. I asked John Schaefer if he had received my emails, and I apologize that he did not. He had requested information on HR 760 earlier, a couple of months ago, and as a result of that request, actually through our legislative platform, we did send a letter of support to our senators, and so I do apologize. I did email you what I thought was to your email, a copy of that letter of support that we have sent out, so I will double back with you on that. And then what I wanted you to see is, was that comprehensive enough, or did you have an additional request? So I'll work with him on that. But that letter did go out, I think, close to 2 months ago now at this point.
All right, we will move on to the consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are considered to be routine by the City Council and are enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of any of these items. If discussion is required, the item is removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. At the end of the reading of the consent calendar, council members or members of the public can request that an item be removed for separate discussion. A, approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of July 17, 2019. B, biweekly report on general warrants. C, approve the capitalized purchase costs of one Bobcat compact track loader, model T770 T4, i.e. skid steer, in the amount of $106,699.21. Award purchase contract to Bobcat of Eureka for a total of $92,320.19, including taxes and fees. Approve use of capital vehicle funds for payment to Guy Rents, Inc. for skid steer rental invoices due in the amount of $14,379.02, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents. Adopt the successor memorandum of understanding between the City of Arcata and Arcata Police Association for July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2021, and authorize the mayor to execute. 2, adopt resolution number 190-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata amending the class and pay resolution for Arcata Police Association, reflecting the negotiated salary increase for fiscal year 2019-2020 of the successor memorandum of understanding, effective retroactively to the pay period that includes July 1st, 2019. E, ratify employment agreement for Special Project Engineer R. Charles Class and adopt resolution number 190-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata, amending the class and pay resolution, management, mid-management, confidential, and appointed employees to reflect new Special Project Engineer position. F, adopt resolution number 190-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata, amending the class and pay resolution, compensation and benefits for hourly rated part-time, temporary, and seasonal personnel to reflect new Special Project Construction Inspector position and reclassification of resources aid. G, authorize the Chief of Police to enter into a revised memorandum of understanding with participating agencies for participation in the Humboldt County Drug Task Force, and authorize the Chief of Police to sign successor MOUs. H, authorize the Chief of Police to enter into a memorandum of understanding with participating agencies for participation in the Joint Agency Fugitive Apprehension Team, and authorize the Chief of Police to sign successor MOUs. I, adopt resolution number 190-11, transferring Arcata and Mad River Transit System bus number 933 to Klamath Trinity Transit. J, approve contracts for professional services with the Arcata Chamber of Commerce, Arcata Main Street, and Humboldt Del Norte Film Commission for the 3-year term. K, direct the city manager to sign the fiscal year 2019-2020 Humboldt State University Ridership Agreement. Adopt resolution 190-08, L, adopt resolution 190-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arcata authorizing application for the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program for the Isaacson Affordable Housing Project. M, adopt resolution number 190-09, amending resolution number 178-34, designating streets subject to yield signs. Do we have any members of the council that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar?
Nancy, how should I handle L? I mean, I have a conflict of interest. I need to recuse myself on that. So how do we do that?
This would be just noting it. You do not have to leave the dais because it's on the consent calendar, but noting it that you're abstaining from that particular item.
I don't need to pull it then?
No.
All right.
Any other items? I'd like to pull item C. Do we have any members of the public that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Just say, you can just tell me the item. L. So we have items C and L. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar minus items C and L.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On item C, I just noticed that it appears that we rented something, and then after we rented it, we're giving approval to pay for it. Am I misinterpreting that?
No, we rented it under a separate contract, and then the acquisition of the skid steer did come through your budget process to approve. But we did trial it out on a rental basis to see if it would actually be the right piece of equipment to purchase. But had you not approved that purchase, then we would not be purchasing it, and the rental would just go back. Or we would rent it on an as-needed basis as we had funds to do so. But it's more cost-effective for us to purchase a piece of equipment.
Great, thank you.
Just to clarify, that rent amount got deducted from the total purchase price, so it was credited, kind of a rent-to-own. So it wasn't rent plus full purchase price. It was purchase price minus the rent credit towards the purchase, if that makes sense.
We've already voted on it. I don't know. Yeah, we've already voted on it. Oz, my apologies. But I'd be happy to talk with you about anything after the meeting. Or you can I guess you can't make public comment on it later, but all right. Moving on, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on item C? Seeing none, we'll move on to item L.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve item C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Price?
Well, now that it's been pulled, do I need to leave the room then? Okay. Yeah, I do paid consulting work for Danco, so I am recusing myself on this item.
Again, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, staff, and ladies and gentlemen of the city of Arcata, I do apologize. I have not had time to review this. And I'm not asking it to be pulled. I'm just asking if someone can email me this resolution by chance, so those of us with lived experience that are productively and proactively trying to get involved with improving the quality of life, adding hope to a hopeless situation of those entering into stable and permanent supportive housing, that would be greatly appreciated. If y'all can possibly, I know you know my email address, so if you can possibly email me this resolution and the containing part of this, that would be greatly appreciated. This is just a respectful request for consideration. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. We have any other comments on item L? Seeing none.
I'll make a motion to approve consent calendar item L.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will wait for Councilmember Winkler. And next, we have old business. A, conduct a public hearing and receive public input on the update to the city's Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan and adopt resolution number 190-03 approving the updated ADA transition plan. May we please have a staff report?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. We came to you before to discuss the update to the city's Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan and brought a draft resolution before you. We did have the notices up on the city's website. We've been reaching out as much as we could to get public input, and to date we only received one matter of public input on this item, and that was from a person with mobility needs who attended the previous meeting when we introduced this and spoke with Deputy Director Kotri about it, and specifically the issue was ADA sidewalk improvements around and for access to City Hall. So we will include that with the project. And with that, I don't have any other material to report on this item and would ask that you consider adopting the resolution.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll bring it to the council. Do we have any comments from the council or a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue. We're continuing it again, aren't we? No, this is it. So we're just adopting resolution number 190-03, approving the updated ADA transition plan.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have new business. A, appoint one member to the Planning Commission for a term expiring March 31st, 2023. I believe we decided that we were going to continue to receive applications. Am I right? I just want to double check. All right. And moving on to item B, plaque development for the women.
Before that, I just want to say, I think for all the applicants that we've had, lots of really compelling backgrounds and experiences. And so we do hope that for all those that have applied, that you get involved in the city with our other opportunities as well. So just want to thank you for putting yourselves out there and volunteering to serve the community. You definitely want to incorporate your skills in some of our other committees, hopefully, if you're willing.
Thanks. So next we have item B, plaque development for the Women's Christian Temperance Union fountain on the Arcata Plaza. Do we have a staff report?
Yeah, I'll give you a staff report, Mayor and council members. So the city has one of the Women Christian Temperance Union foundations I call them bubblers, water fountains that are on, ours is on the Arcata Plaza. These were all from the early 1900s. There was a movement to put in water fountains. At the time, public drinking water wasn't always safe, so they tried to, put fountains in areas where they could ensure safe drinking water, because in essence, a lot of people ended up drinking alcoholic beverages because they didn't trust the water. So it became sort of a gathering space in a lot of towns for people to get safe drinking water, as well as to fuel up their horses before they were heading out, and Arcata happens to have one that is located on the plaza. So I will let the mayor speak to sort of, how this item has come to be, but my understanding of it is that through the process of the city making repairs and Mayor and Councilmember Patino going out and doing some work to sort of revitalize and freshen up, a lot of questions came forward about, the Temperance Fountain and its history in Arcata, and because it has an interesting history, there is very little signage about it on the plaza, that it would be just beneficial overall to be able to come up with some wording with our Historic Landmarks Committee to put out on the plaza. So small project in stature, but because it is in our central downtown plaza area, just wanted to bring it to dialogue for the city council. Does that cover it? Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, it just seems like something that's been there a long time. It'd be great to have more water accessible to the public on the plaza. A lot of people, some people that have lived here their entire lives I've talked to, didn't know the story behind it. I know when Councilmember Patino and I were out there, people, I noticed people were stopping, coming off the freeway, just passing through Arcata, visiting the plaza, looking for something to eat, but basically tourists. And so I thought it would be something that tourists would enjoy as well as the local community.
Oh, it's a very interesting and significant period in U.S. history. The period from the late 1800s to around World War I has been called the Progressive Era, where there was a lot of emphasis on public health and safety, social services, and parks, and so the WCTU and their efforts were part of that era. So I think that whatever you feel about what the ultimate result was, which was alcohol prohibition, that it's still an interesting and significant period in U.S. history and Arcata history.
I appreciate this. Thank you for bringing it forward. And I really want to thank the Mayor and Councilmember Patino for taking the initiative to get in there and clean it up, because I think that's what it took to kind of get the ball rolling, because we've been talking about it for a lot of years. And so thank you so much for just getting out there and scrubbing. And then for staff coming in and realizing it wasn't nearly so expensive to fix as they thought. And so it feels like it's a really positive project. And so I'm really supportive of this, and I think it's great for the Historic Landmark Committee to work up some language.
Is there any idea how and where we're going to start with that plaque?
I thought I would let the Historic Landmarks Committee, just have a general. They have not met on this item. This item really before you tonight is just to give them direction to work on that, because it is a historic structure. We don't want to adhere anything to the actual structure. So depending on the wording itself, it could be something small that we just put right into the pavement, or it could be something that you put on a small stand. So if any of you have input that you want to give to that, process, let me know, and then I can pass that on to them. And then, I don't know, maybe it would be good for you guys just to have a subcommittee that could review that, so it doesn't have to come back to the council before we go to production, if that's something that you're interested in. Or we could bring back the final wording to you. Or
Yeah, I think we could just bring it back. I mean, in my mind.
I guess, so as far as the decision-making process around like where it will actually go, if it's in the concrete or on a little pedestal or whatever, will that have to come back to us?
It does not have to come back to you. It just really depends on the level of the interest of the council. If you'd like that to come back to you, we certainly could. We certainly do small modifications like that in our park system all the time without, taking them before the council in a formal way. And that's why I suggested if you had a couple of you, that wanted to be in on that discussion level and wanted to appoint a subcommittee, we could work through that as well. Or I could just work with the mayor.
Okay, yeah. So, go ahead.
Oh, well, it's just kind of funny because I totally trust the staff, and yet there's some part of me in the back of my mind's like is thinking, just don't do anything dumb, And so I'm I would trust a subcommittee if you want, or the Historic Landmark Committee also.
I hope you consider having a drone 24 hours a day that just flies something. I mean, just something really practical is what I'm hoping for. No, I think this is a great idea, and yeah, thank you both again for taking the lead on this. Do we need to make a motion? To create a subcommittee. Well, I feel like there's 2 people that are very dedicated that might want to be on the subcommittee.
So that's, and then 2, that's it, okay.
You can only have 2.
Yeah, just wanted to check. Cool.
Okay, well, then I'll make a motion to create a subcommittee of Councilmember Patino and Mayor Brett Watson for this Women's Temperance Fountain language, historic language.
Second.
I just want to check with Councilmember Winkler, were you particularly interested in being on the subcommittee? Are you okay?
I'd be interested if you want to refer me on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I'd like to do it, but I don't want, if it's something you were really interested in, I'd be happy to.
Well, since you two have been working on it, I'd be happy for you to continue.
Okay, great.
And I can talk to you about it.
Great, excellent. So we have a motion. Do we also have a second? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, and are there any members of the public that would like to comment? Please come up.
Hi again, my name's Joanne McGarry, and I attended the Plaza Improvement Task Force recently. I wasn't able to attend the entire meeting, but I think when it comes to where a plaque goes on a historic item on the plaza, maybe just at least giving a direct public awareness to that task force on that issue is probably important. Okay, so that's what I would just suggest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Plaza Point. On behalf of the Plaza Hood Watch Association and my fellow downtown neighbors, I'd like to thank Honorable Mayor Watson and Councilman Patino for their participation in the restoration of a lost portion of our history. And as I put my anthropologist and archaeologist hat on, tonight I look at the design of the fountain. Notice that there's twin drinking bowls placed about 22 inches from the ground. This was to facilitate the drinking of water by children and their dogs, animals. If we want to honor the historical significance of our community, all we have to do is look to a historical landmark and just make it so, and renew and refresh our efforts to a safe, clean, healthy, inclusive environment free from harassment, intimidation, where all can participate in the downtown living room of our city and enjoy. Thank you for your interest, and I'm, on behalf of the Plaza Hood Watch Association, so proud of you all for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Great, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And yeah, just, I feel like credit really goes to the staff for actually getting it working, and I really appreciate it. I think they took great care, and they really were very thoughtful about it. Initially, the estimate came back, in the thousands of dollars, but they were able to fix it, I think, with staff time and $100 in parts. So, really appreciate that. Thank you.
I want to point out that I think it's a good idea what Joanne thought, that we should make sure that the Plaza Task Force hears about this, because it's going to be a little change, and it would be terrible to do something and not, be informing them, so.
Great. Moving on to new business C, review and consider revisions to the City Council Protocol Manual 2018. May we please have a staff report?
Yeah, the city has a protocol manual. It is just a list of best practices that the council has developed over the course of many years to help govern the city and to help orient new council members when they come on. Per that protocol manual, in Chapter 9, there is a section that just gives a date for review and says it'll be reviewed and revised, the protocol manual as needed, every July following a city council election. So this is close. We only had one meeting in July and one in August. So we picked this meeting in August to bring this protocol manual as a regular interval from the November election. And so the staff has gone through and put just some very minor changes and edits and updates that are in a draft that is before you tonight. And the idea is that you will just review those staff recommendations, that you'll provide any changes or revisions that the council sees fit, and then either we can approve tonight with the changes that you discuss, or if there are substantive changes that you would like staff to work wording for, we could bring it back as, likely a consent calendar item at a future date. So with that, I will open it up, turn it back to the mayor, or be available for questions.
I know one thing I discussed with you was adding the legislative platform to the protocol manual. So I don't know if that was something the council felt like made sense, but it seemed like we have a lot of documents in there
Something we
as an appendix.
recently brought forward and created, and so that makes some sense.
I mean, references to it or specifics of it?
Like an appendix.
Just bring it as an appendix.
Yeah.
And then maybe reference it in the document, so that
Mhm.
we'll know that the mayor has
Saying,
the right.
saying that it exists and what's the authority that's delegated to the mayor in relation to the legislative platform.
Yeah. Is there just not that many changes, or, because there was just a few things highlighted, is that really all that we're talking about?
Yeah, there are, from a staff level, there just are very minor changes, really nothing substantive at all. So that's why I didn't outline any great changes in my staff report. But we do have a section here that just says it should come before you on this regular interval. If you have, things that aren't working for you in the protocol manual that you've run across in the course of that 2 years that you want to bring forward for change at this time.
I'd like a new picture.
Okay, we'll update, yeah. We do usually update the photos, so we bring you the draft, but we will update.
Yep, I have have one thing on 274 of 406 page, and it says order of business, call to order, and flag salute. I would love to get rid of the flag salute, Pledge of Allegiance, if we could do that. I don't know if anybody else is interested in that.
I don't really know the history of that. I mean, I kind of do a little, but I mean, like being introduced into city meetings. And
I don't know the history of that either. I'd be happy to research that. I will tell you that it is referenced here in your protocol manual. Your meeting schedule and structure is also set by resolution. So if that's a change that the council was interested in making, we certainly could make it in wording to the protocol manual. We would bring back that resolution for updating as well.
Right now, I'm not interested in it, but I'd like to think about it and talk with you about it.
Sure. One of the reasons that I bring it up is it was introduced to the U.S. by an advertising executive as a way of drumming up support for whatever they were trying to sell, and it got accepted into the communities, especially schools, and then just imposed on them. It's not anywhere in our founding fathers or the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that says you have to do this. For me, it's something that has been added in, and we've just, what do you want to say, by rote accepted that it's something that we do. And the necessity for it, to me, doesn't exist outside of trying to promote adherence to the flag, which is starting to become a little archaic in my mind. So I just would like to see the discussion occur. I personally, I don't do it because it's sort of, it gets close to being religion in a way, or belief mechanism, if you want to call it that. And I don't think it has any place in our council meetings.
To me, it's aspirational rather than a statement of fact, and I'm comfortable with that as an aspiration.
Are we asking staff to do some research so we understand where it came from, or what are we thinking here? Or did you want to do that research, Paul, and bring it forward to us?
and go origin of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you hit Google and you look at origin of Pledge of Allegiance, it will give you the whole story. You know, I mean, I think that each of us could pretty simply do that and think about it over the next whatever X number of years and say, is that something we want to do or not? So anyway, I'm satisfied with bringing it up. I've done my research. I know that I don't need it, so thanks.
Yeah, I'll look at it, and we can talk about it at a future date. Absolutely. All right, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Mm-hmm.
Again, my name is Joanne McGarry, and we talked about the Temperance Fountain and the history of that existence in our community. So I think trying to understand the history of why things are in place is always a good thing to look at. And so I agree that looking at a history of protocols and why they're here and there. And at one point earlier this year, I gave the Pledge of Allegiance to the Earth to the city manager. And I also questioned the Earth flag on the dais and thought that perhaps a protocol could be changed, or if there is even a protocol for the Earth flag on the dais, in addition to the state and the national flag, if the Earth flag could be on the ground with the people. Just as a thought, because it kind of gets lost in the corner over there, and I think people don't even notice that there's an Earth flag over there. So just trying to understand why we do what we do and what's the history behind it, I think is always good in reviewing. So I just would like to second what Councilmember Patino said.
Thank you. Bring it back to the council. So I think the only additional to what was in the staff report was the legislative platform. Adding that, is that correct?
Adding the legislative platform, the mayor and I also talked about just a couple of minor edits. I'm going to add the word vice mayor on page 7, and then I had a flag. I'm going to add the word vice mayor on the first line of, I don't know what your packet page number is, but a protocol, the protocol manual, page 7. Where I'll just read the sentence. It says the council rotates and selects the mayor, and I'm going to add and vice mayor each year. So that change there, and then we talked about a change on page 35, placing items on the agenda. What's outlined in your protocol manual is not adhered to strictly, but could still be a good practice, so I don't know if it really requires changing. And then whether or not we wanted to talk about, we do have the full list of proclamations that have been approved at one point over time that have become annual proclamations to the council. Several have commented that can take a long time at the beginning of meetings, and if there's a way that we would like to try to pare that down. I don't know what that structure would look like, but those are the only other things that have come up over the course of the years. I've talked with some of you.
And so what is that process right now if somebody wants a resolution for a proclamation?
So the way it works is that if it's a brand new proclamation and there is a local representative, then we bring that proclamation to you on typically a consent calendar item. Here's a copy of the proclamation, and they're asking for it to be included in the annual proclamation list. So once they make that list, we contact them a period before the meeting to say, would you like this proclamation again this year? Please make any edits that you would like to the proclamation and updates and send it back to us by a certain date. Provided that they do that, then it goes on that agenda corresponding to, if October is Energy Month or whatever the proclamation is. If they don't respond to us, then it doesn't go that year. We do make an attempt for 2 years. If we don't hear from them for 2 years, then they do fall off the list. So that's sort of the current practice right now. It is very staff intensive, but it has been very important to a lot of local nonprofits and groups around the community too. So it's just that balance.
And then we're going to keep language in there that somewhat specifies the day that we pick the timing we pick a mayor and a vice mayor.
Yes, that will remain in there at the top of page 7, and by adding the word vice mayor in, it'll clarify for both of those positions on that date and time. Well, not time, we picked the date, in essence.
And then I know one change you had that you were to look into was, it's on packet page 247. Yeah, about the, says the Board of Permit Appeals makes final decisions on matters arising under the Uniform Building Code, and its final decisions are not subject to review by the City Council.
Right. So that is also mirrored in the municipal code, the city's municipal code.
And state law.
Okay. That is all I have, unless another, does anything else from the council? All right.
We don't need to do anything. They're just going to come back with a revised version, and we'll accept it.
No, you would just approve it tonight, then we'll make those updates. We'll do, formatting and new pictures, and then we'll bind them and get a copy out to you, if you approve it tonight.
So I'll make a motion to approve the changes as presented at the August 21st meeting and amended as mentioned by the council members.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Motions, 'cause you're more articulate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have new business. Item D, assign one new council member to the Homeless Support Services Working Group. The Homeless Support, do we have a staff report?
The Homeless Support Working Group was a group that was developed back in 2017, and initially Councilmember Patino and Sophia Pereira were assigned to work with that group. Based on some scheduled changes, Councilmember Pereira can't make the regular times of the meetings, and so we just had a slot available for an additional council member to be on that working group. The group has been really successful, and the group is really excited to feed ideas into Councilmember Pereira as she works in the new advisory capacity to the governor's, work on homelessness. So I think it'll be an exciting year and a fun year ahead for that group. For one of you, I believe that Councilmember Patino would like to continue to work with that group. We just had a meeting today.
But when is the meeting times? When are the meeting times?
Yeah, the third Wednesday of each month from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. Don't all jump at once.
I just feel like that timing is so hard,
know,
and
it's
it's
hard.
right before
I
the
agree.
council meeting, too.
What do you, Councilmember Patino, would you like a second council member with you?
Generally, it's not a problem because I usually always attend, but there are times like next month when I won't be here. And I think it's important to make sure that our input is there, that the council's aware of the agencies and what's going on, because stuff can slip away pretty easy.
I would be willing to be an alternate, but I can't commit to going on a regular basis because I have a really tight schedule, if that would be acceptable.
I can live with that. If you could make next month, that would help.
All right. So then the council could designate that I would be an alternate for Councilmember Patino then?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're fine with having one person in case there's something that has to come up.
Could you have them email me then?
Yeah.
Yeah, the agendas are put out by our office, so we'll add you to them.
Okay.
We'll just add you to the agendas
Yeah.
regularly if that's
Do we
what
need a motion for me to be an alternate?
I think so, yeah.
I'll make
Go ahead, if you want.
I would say I'll make a motion to appoint Councilmember Winkler as the alternate for the working group.
Second.
Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, staff, ladies and gentlemen of the city of Arcata. My name is Vernon Price. I am a homeless advocate and activist, formerly homeless. I'm not in opposition of this. Like one of the council, Paul said, that it is essential for city council to be at this this committee meeting. But I do want to, I've sat with Councilmember Pereira before in the past over the last year. I think it's also essential that someone with lived experience be at this table. I do believe that some formerly homeless people do have a wise mind and a passionate heart to bring productive change. I do know, and I'm not trying to advocate for me to be on this. If so, then it would be a blessing. But someone from lived experience needs to be at this table, bringing productive and proactive change. I have been appointed to the Housing Trust and Homeless Solution Committee. I am now appointed member of the Behavioral Health Board and on the subcommittee of the Senior Adult Subcommittee Program. So please take it in consideration. This is just a respectful request for your consideration, because if this is going to be an all-inclusive community, somebody with lived experience, and if we're going to back peer support those peers with lived experience at these policymaking tables. Thank you so much for your time, your concern, and your consideration on this request, and please have a good evening.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. So if there's no further comment, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to our second and last opportunity for oral and written communications from the public. This time is provided for people to address the council or submit written communications on matters not on the agenda. At the conclusion of all oral and written communications, the council may respond to statements. Any request that requires council action will be set by the council for a future agenda or referred to staff. Speakers addressing the council may be limited to 3 minutes, with a maximum of 5 minutes, and a time limit on the overall length of oral communications may be imposed. Just real quick, it's okay. I have a quick question for you, Nancy. Oh, no, it's okay. I apologize.
Distracted.
No, I apologize. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Some logistics going on behind me.
I'm sorry. I know that when we set a time throughout the meeting for speakers to speak, that we need to be uniform throughout the meeting. And I'm just thinking that at the beginning, we could say we can limit it to 2. Here we say we can limit it to 3. Do you think there should be more parity there?
I think the limitation for 2 at the beginning is because it's a short timeline, and you want to maximize the opportunity for speakers. But that's completely within the discretion of the council, and if you wanted to change that language. But I don't think they need to be consistent. What needs to be consistent is your treatment of the speakers within each of the different time periods.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on items not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to council and staff reports.
Yeah. Our city engineer was, I think, just going to print what he was going to
Okay,
pull
great.
up on
No
the
problem.
screen, so we'll bring that back.
And so, yeah, when he is available, that will be item A, receive an update from city engineer Dobie Class on the wastewater treatment plant upgrade.
Yeah. So the other announcement that I just wanted to make, we're in a trial basis tonight, but we are going to start to try to stream our council meetings also on YouTube Live. It'll give us a little expanded platform and be a little bit more user-friendly for some of the people that are trying to access. More and more folks are trying to access the council meetings online, and I think that the YouTube format might be a little bit more user-friendly for them than our Excel format through our system.
Would that be real time? I mean,
Yes, we will stream them real time, but then they'll be available on our YouTube channel as well. So I'm not saying it's going to replace what we're currently doing, but with this feed, it also allows us to go out Facebook Live. There just is more technology available to us. So we're just doing a soft trial tonight, and I'll let you know how that goes. And then if it's successful and we start to launch that, I'll for sure to let you know. But if you're hearing about that. Okay. And I'll get your schedules put up on the screen for you. Do you want to just go through?
Good evening, Council. Here tonight just to give a brief update. City Manager Deemer has requested, and we will be providing a monthly or bi-monthly updates on the wastewater treatment plant improvement program. And basically, I would just let you know we have multi-phases in the project, and there will be a project I'll commonly refer to as Phase 0, and that is basically a project that we're designing in-house and working on, and that is something that was approved in the budget this year for the installation of aeration equipment to replace the existing 8 aerators in our oxidation pond system, and including baffle improvements in the oxidation pond number 2 to reduce short-circuiting and see efficiency improvements there. One of the recommendations that we had in the overall project scope. We'll also be doing vegetation and flow improvements, going through the marsh number 4 after we get done with some cleanup in the area, and we're going to be doing a prescribed burn in that area that Director Andre is orchestrating with the volunteer fire department, or the, I guess they're not a volunteer fire department, the Arcata Fire Department to do sometime in the end, likely in September, and we will do obviously plenty of notice in advance. We're also looking at PG&E electrical wiring and transformer upgrades, and then looking at the design and working on grant application for levee improvements in there. In the wastewater treatment plant Phase 1, the project that we're working on with the assigned contract to GHD and Crollo Engineering, we're on track for a 35% design review submittal that's due in October of this year. We hold weekly meetings to discuss with the project manager, Doug Wing, who I think you've all heard him. He's come up a couple times and talked to your body before. And I will show you the schedule as it is right now. It's in public wastewater treatment plant. Wow, there weren't that many there before, Karen. I'm sorry. That's why I wanted to kind of jump in here. Yeah, public Arcata Council presentations. I'm sorry. Yep. And 2019 wastewater. Thank you. And should be that. Yeah, there's one right there. So we have the. I got it. Just show. Yeah, just that one there is perfect. Oh boy. Okay. I apologize for not having it. Well, basically, this is the project schedule and how it's kind of broken out there. So their task 1 is the final design there. And as I spoke there, you can kind of see that red line on the side there. That's when we're looking to get a first submittal and have a chance to start reviewing the 35% design package there. It moves on down all the way there to sometime in March when we're looking to have basically 90% plans. We'll be coming back probably to your council with a real in-depth, here's what it is. We'll have a very good estimate at that point of what the probable costs are of the project, extremely good. And then we will be looking to basically turn that into a final production so that we could arrange to have a bidding session start probably May, June of that year. And we're looking at very likely 2 months of bidding time before we're able to award a project on that. The task, next task down there, if you just kind of scroll down for me there. So that's just kind of the ongoing meetings. But the task 3 that I'll talk about, as your council is aware, we were able to get a CDBG grant to help us pay for the UV disinfection. And that is really a great thing. We'll be able to advance that project right now, working with Crollo. It's on a separate track right now. So we have reviewed an initial design package and a bidding proposal for 4 different vendors that we're looking to basically see if they meet the criteria to use their UV disinfection. We had a meeting on that, a phone conversation. Jen Dart with Community Development is obviously kind of overseeing the grant application and how we're going to be bidding that project. We are anticipating that we'll actually be able to have some proposals back on that project sometime in December. very likely would be kind of at the far end on that. It is something that we actually had another meeting today with the regional board, and there are some clarifications in the type of specifications that we're going to be using, whether we're using an international standard or a standard that's more typical for reuse. So the regional board, as well as us, is getting quite an education in the use of ultraviolet, specifically as it relates to constructed wetlands. The other aspect that Mark is really kind of spearheading on it is the permitting and environmental review, and we are working on the initial checklist under CEQA and NEPA. And we have a target date of the end of this month for completing our initial study, kind of a checklist. And really what we've been doing is working on the important aspects that include the project description, and beyond that, what we'd originally called the project description was what you reviewed in the executive summary when I think we did a presentation in May or early June of this year. And beyond the executive summary, several issues have come up that we're looking at. Some very small amount of wetland mitigation that we required in the project, some of the sea level rise aspects, the use of piles and potential environmental impacts from pile driving or from vibratory piles or drilled piles. They're still analyzing the three aspects of how we're going to do that. We're really hoping that, I'm hoping that we will be able to use a combination of pile types if necessary to really get the loading on this, but my ultimate desire is that they're able to come back with a shallower pile design and using drilled piles rather than driven piles, because the environmental issues that we had with the trail were significant in respect to vibration through water, jelly, and a liquefied mud underneath the soil that affects fish and marine mammals, etc. Additionally on that, Mark is working hard on the special and technical studies and identifying if additional work is needed outside. Some of the special studies are being handled by some of our local consultants. We have obviously identified several permits, obviously including the coastal development permit, and we're arranging to have a coordination meeting with those permitting agencies to really kind of sit down and have a more in-depth discussion regarding the phasing of the project and what the project impacts are in order to make sure that we can get our permits in a timely fashion. The key thing I'll bring up on the environmental permitting and review is we have to have a approved NEPA document in order to be able to use the funding from the block grant money for the UV, and then we additionally need to have the environmental document out for public comment, basically about ready to come to your body before we can really make a full application through the funding agency, the state revolving fund. And they need to make sure that we have a good environmental document, that we're adequately addressing all those through our application, and then it's approximately 6 months after that. I will say the good news on the project funding is many of us were in attendance on a project funding meeting with the finance director being there, Karen, as well too. And the state revolving fund, I believe that we're in a good fiscal position with our debt to revenue to qualify for the necessary loans to complete the phase one, $32 million project estimated. And additionally, we're working on a rate analysis that we will have to be able to pay back that state revolving fund loan. And we're likely to bring that to you with the budget. Well, prior to the budget, obviously, for some public hearings, and then adopting it with a budget for a 5-year rate increase in order to be able to accommodate paying back of that debt, as well as the other issues that we need to be planning for the future, creating more reserve funds, as well as the operations and maintenance. And then just a brief discussion on the rate analysis. The rate study will obviously be designed to maintain the long-term financial health of our utilities while being fair to all the customers. And the rate study proposals are currently being analyzed, and we will anticipate bringing a contract award to the council this September. So if there are any questions, I could
Thank you for
go
that
over a
very
couple.
thorough and detailed. I appreciate. Seriously, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll think.
that's September next year, right?
No.
That's just this year?
Yes, for the rate, yeah, for hiring a consultant to work on the rates,
okay.
but we likely won't have a rate study done. It will be several months, and then approving that rate study will be a normal 218 rate hearing process that your council goes through, not every year, but certainly we're going to look for a 5-year on this.
And we hope to be able to initiate the 218 hearing process in January so that things are approved ahead of time before you head into full budget.
The fortification or barrierization of the area going down to the treatment plant, have we got any finalized ideas of where some of that's going to go?
Are you speaking the drive-in there on G Street, or do you mean the actual levee that protects the?
Well, if you're looking at protecting the G Street area, and I'm curious about what happens with Jolly Giant, how you're going to barrier or not that area.
What we've been discussing, and even we were literally standing on top of it 3 hours ago, is the area in between the bike trail. If you're on the bike trail and you're looking into the treatment plant there,
right,
we want to make sure that we have a barrier protection for approximately 400 feet starting at the fence. Basically, when you're on the bike trail looking down the outflow of the slough area there, to protect the critical infrastructure that's inside of there, the headworks, namely the digester area, all of the new UV that we're going to be installing there, as well as the clarifier area.
Okay.
The rest of the dike infrastructure around the constructed wetlands and the oxidation ponds is another project that we have made applications, seeing if we can get funding for. But definitely in this project, in order for us to be able to approve a building permit, we need to make sure that we're in compliance with our FEMA requirements for doing that. And that will be a base flood minimum elevation of 14 feet to protect, and then some additional elevation there to protect us from potential wind-driven waves.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this agenda item? Seeing none. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Is there any new information for the public on the dog park? Or the Little Lakes property? And if not, it's okay.
We haven't received a copy of the final report. I think we reported last time we're in the process through an EPA grant of reviewing potential contamination on what we refer to as the Little Lakes property. And no, I don't think, I'm just giving an update. We do have a council member with a conflict on the item, but this is just a quick update for you. So all of the sampling has been done. The results are back. We just have not received that final report. Once we do, we'll forward that to the council for review.
Thanks. Do we have any reports from the council?
I've got a long page from last month too, because we missed a meeting. I'll try to be quick. Attended the new postmaster's installation, went to the Point Arena League meeting, the Old Arcata Road presentation of the project, HSU move-in days over last weekend, Homeless Service Working Group today, the monthly Equity Alliance meeting last month, or this month actually. The police anniversary on the plaza. We all got cake. Thank you, Karen, for serving it. I attended Valley West cleanup on Saturday, the 27th July, and August 4th, Sunday. We had a city council study session on revenue generation. We all attended. I had a tour of the CIZ from individual out there to show me all the operations and the proposed growth of that industry out there. And then I attended the cultural humility session Saturday, 7:20, and then with Mayor Watson, we put new chips in Rotary Park for the playground. Thanks.
So I went to various meetings of the Downtown Business Association Main Street, that they've hired a new staff member whose name is Carrie, who seems very enthusiastic. She's a graduate student at HSU, so she's going to be fulfilling a lot of the roles of an executive director. And so that's looks good for the organization. And they are still planning on doing a mediation on street closures relative to the farmers market. I attended what was called the Police Night Out, which was a barbecue, and gave members of the community an opportunity to talk to police officers from Arcata Police Department, the California Highway Patrol, and also the Arcata Fire District was there also. Let's see, as far as we had an RCA board meeting. One thing that could be interesting to people for RCA is that there's a master plan, long-term plan for RCA called the Comprehensive Action Plan for Energy. And so RCA is going to have a series of workshops throughout the county for people to give input for updates to that plan. And the meeting location that is closest to Arcata is going to be later this month on the 29th at 5:30 p.m. at the Aquatic Center in Eureka. So if anybody's interested in getting involved in that, that would probably be the most convenient meeting to attend.
Great. Anything?
I have a few things. First, I just want to welcome the new HSU and College of the Redwood students. It seems exciting. The weather's been beautiful. I was at the farmers market this last Saturday, and it was great just to see so many people there. And again, I love the farmers market because I think it brings out the best of us. And it was really nice for me to hear people just walking by. They didn't know I was listening to them, but that were saying things like, wow, I just love this town. I love this place. Look at how nice this is, all this food and all this beautiful people. And it just really warmed my heart to hear that. So again, I want to welcome the new students. And then wasn't sure if you were going to mention this, Councilmember Patino, but I saw this sitting back there, so I wanted to make sure people know about the iBlock party, because it's a really fun celebration of our sister city and our city. And we have a sister city in Nicaragua. And so the iBlock party is on Monday, September 2nd from 12 to 6, and it's on I Street. It's free to enter. There's lots of fun things just to watch people doing, and there's live music and food to be purchased and things like that. And it's a community tradition. I don't know how long we've been, it's the 34th annual. So there you go. We've been doing it for a while. And then I just wanted to bring up, used to be a couple years ago, I used to kind of have a little joke here where I'd say, okay, now this is Susie's gardening show, and I talk about gardens and things. But I just wanted to bring up, these are some grapes that I picked in my backyard today from Sunnybray, which, anyone who knows grapes, it's surprising to be able to get them ripe in a coastal community. But the reason I bring them forward really is just that I want to encourage people to grow foods here because I don't water this grape. This grape lives on groundwater, which means that it is tapping into the water of last winter. And so no water has to be transferred, no pumps have to run. This is just living naturally in the conditions that it's in. And so I just want to encourage people to plant fruits because things like grapes, I'm particularly good at getting these grapes to go in Sunnybray. I wouldn't expect everyone to be able to do that. But there are lots of things you can plant like apples and plums that are very easy to grow. And like I said, if you're just careful in how you do it, you can get them to live on groundwater. And that is an absolute source of water, and it's an important one for us to remember. So anyway. I just want to say that.
I did try the grapes and they were delicious, so you've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Okay, just a few things. Also went to National Night Out, just great turnout there. I went to the Chamber Mixer, the Coast Central that we have, Uniontown it's been there, 9 or 10 years now, so it was kind of a nice celebration of that being in our community. Also tabled with Councilmember Patino, welcoming students and getting them resources for the community. So that was a lot of fun, talking to students and their families. It's always just, they're overwhelmed but excited. It's great energy. And then recently, I was invited by the Eureka Police Department, actually by Councilmember Burgell, to do a ride-along with Sergeant LaFrance to see their community safety engagement team program. So basically the homeless outreach program that the police department does that's been in effect for a year. And I only got to do it for an hour and a half, but I was really impressed with the level of engagement that there is, the level of compassion that there is with this team. And we went to the free meal program at St. Vincent de Paul's, and it was definitely a model that I thought was worth, I think, looking at. I know we're building out our MIST program in Arcata, but I think to just keep in mind of, how often our police officers are on the front lines of so many community issues, and not expecting them to become social workers, but I think to keep in mind the opportunity there is for engagement and getting people connected to services. That could be the one day that someone's ready. So it was just really great. I want to really just thank Councilmember Burgell. She does incredible work in Eureka around homelessness, and Sergeant LaFrance also seems deeply committed to this work, and so but also spoke very highly of our new chief and the work that's happening in Arcata. So hopefully we can learn from some of the work they're doing there too.
Great. I attended the Apd Anniversary Celebration on the Plaza with Councilmember Patino. I don't know if were you there too as well? No. I gave a update on the city to the local Kiwanis Club. I emceed the lantern ceremony last Saturday. I met with a constituent who was concerned about our green waste drop-off program, and the city manager is communicating with them, and so we're making sure that that's working for everybody. And I wrote a letter welcoming new HSU students, and I also attended the Chamber of Commerce Mixer, and that's all I have. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.